You wrote in your testimony to the UN Security Council on November 20th of last year that the UN has the power to end the war in Israel and Palestine. And just for our listeners who aren't really familiar with the UN's powers, what makes you think that this is possible, just let alone practical?
Well, the war and peace issues are vested in the UN, and in particular in the UN Security Council. The UN Security Council has ample power. If there's an agreement within the UN Security Council, it can impose solutions, it can impose peacekeepers, it can even mobilize a military force. It can use sanctions to punish one side or another that doesn't comply with the UN orders. And so the UN Security Council, by international law, by the UN Charter, has the ability to impose a solution. What blocks that, of course, is that there is not unanimity within the UN Security Council, and in particular, the United States defends Israel and to this date does not press honestly for a solution.
Right. So, yeah, given these limitations, so Hamas governs Palestine, Netanyahu governs Israel with a right-wing coalition, and you've pointed out that many Israelis oppose the two-state solution. Many Palestinians view Israel as entirely illegitimate and a colonialist settler enterprise. And then, of course, you have the entire geopolitical situation behind all of this. So how then would the UN practically execute on these abilities vested in it to end the conflict?
Well, since 1967, there has been a broad consensus, even including the United States, on many votes and many occasions, that there should be two states living side by side in peace. And since Resolution 242, which was in 1967 onward, that two-state solution has been embedded in repeated UN Security Council and UN General Assembly votes. It is the international law. And in fact, the UN Security Council several times has endorsed the two-state solution. And it has also indicated that the two-state solution should be implemented on the 4th of June, 1967 borders. This, I think, is the proper outcome to this conflict, which is basically 100 years conflict, not even just a 57-year conflict. It dates back already to the Balfour Declaration and its aftermath in the 1920s. To end this conflict, in my opinion, we should abide by decades of international law, and I think also pragmatism. There are two groups. They are irreconcilable in terms of their own negotiations, but they can be pressed, actually forced to live side by side in peace by the world community. And that's what I personally recommend doing.